There might have been parts where he got too crazy. And we were like, rather chill.
Yes, sometimes.
That's enough.
Yeah.
I think that in Echo that the song is more chill. It was like
Okay.
more chill. Don't
get too excited.
Cut. Yeah. The most important is like like that they can find their voices, not like singing as someone, just singing like with their voices, and it's very important to like develop their ear.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Unsigned Berlin. Today's guest was Aura with her producer Sebastian. You already know him as the CEO. We talked about boleros, her new EP, and traditional training, classical training in vocals and music in general. I don't know. Yeah, okay. Well, here's a little snippet of her newest EP. And let's go.
Descansa entre mis pasos.
So, who are you?
I'm a singer.
What do you do?
Singing, songwriter.
How did you start with music?
Since I was a kid.
How would you describe your music?
Intimate.
Okay, and who is the person next to you?
My producer and boyfriend.
That's me.
And also CEO of this podcast.
So hopefully people listening already know me. And if you don't, go back and watch episodes.
Yeah, then you missed out, definitely. So, right now you're working, you're almost releasing in your EP, right? What is the idea behind it?
I studied classical music during years, so I wanted to explore the music in a more creative way for me. So I just wanted to make music. I didn't have a goal with the EP. It just was songs that I was writing, and then it was an EP.
Then it was an EP.
Yeah.
But how did you feel then those fit together? You know? Do you know what I mean? It's just because right now you're saying like it just came, it just happened, it just happened. But you also say like, okay, in the end it was an EP. Why?
Yeah, I think that I chose just these 3 songs because I like it more. I feel more me. It felt more me.
When you were listening to them, or the process too?
Yes, it was like I was always worried to find my style and my style, and now I think that I'm finding my way to make music.
And what is that way?
I think that it's lots of influences.
Yeah?
Like
what do you mean?
being I'm from Colombia, so I grew up with lots of music, like Andean music, because I'm from the south of Colombia. But also I love salsa and I love Caribbean music and Pacific music. So I think that all these influences have doing something in my creative process.
That's nice.
Yeah, and now that I'm in Berlin, so.
But in from the south, Colombia is in the south. Is it in the south?
It's on the northern chunk of South America. So it's like where the little bit of like where there's Mexico and all the little countries connects to the big one.
Thank you. But what makes...
I also didn't know that when we started dating.
Okay, great. Thank you. A little bit of geography too. You know, we learn lots of stuff. But if you describe, because you said it's still different than salsa, because for me, like, Latin music is usually like reggaeton, salsa.
Yeah.
That's all I know. Sorry. So what would you say is different for like Colombian music or more southern music? Is there a difference?
Yes, Colombia it's a very, very big country, and we have lots of different cultures in the same country.
Yeah, definitely.
And each part of Colombia, each region of Colombia has a specific culture, a specific music, a specific food.
Yeah.
So,
And where are you from? What is
I'm-
about your culture?
yes, I'm from the south of Colombia, so it's in the Andean part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I didn't grow up with salsa music and reggaeton,
Mm-hmm.
more like boleros and rock and yes, and Indian music.
Bolero, what is, I had never heard of these.
Boleros is like it's a very romantic music.
Yeah.
Very dramatic, vocal focused.
Yes,
Like,
it's very,
oh,
very vocal focused and in
Ah.
the singer.
Yeah. Okay, so just as a genre, it's very singer focused.
Yep. It is.
Ah, that's nice. The thing is, I mean, you're a trained singer, right? So you did sing, like, do, what is it, vocal training for a long time, right?
Yes, I studied classical singing
Classical singing. How long?
8 years.
8 years. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yes,
That is crazy.
That's crazy.
was too much.
It was too much.
Yeah,
Damn.
it
But
was
like,
too
how
much.
is it structured? Like, if you do it for 8 years, like, I don't know anything about vocal training, but at some point, isn't it just doing the same thing for 8 years?
Yes, I think that yeah, music is something that never ends.
Yeah.
You never end to learn something, and yeah, just I sang like lots of hours during 8 years.
Yeah.
Different repertory, but
And how comes you started it and
when
kept going also?
yes, when I finished high school, I needed to choose a career,
Yeah.
and I was good singing, so I said like, oh, maybe I can do this. So it was it wasn't a very prepared decision.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why did you not give up? Because like
Yeah.
8 years is
8
a long
years a
time, and it's
long
like especially
time.
classical training stuff is really hard. Was there something that like kept you motivated to keep going?
I think that I really like it to study.
To study study
Yes.
vocals.
Yes, to study and to study music.
Okay.
I really like it to study music and to make something a lot and to very, very focus on something. I think that I really like it to do that.
To focus on something.
Yes. Because at the beginning, when I started to study classical singing, it was kind of a meditation time when I was
Oh.
studying, because I just was thinking on music, and on the song that I was studying. So
Yeah.
it was very, very nice at the beginning.
And
Then it was just too much.
Yeah?
8 years, and I needed to do something new.
And what was that? What was the new thing that you did then?
I wanted to make my music.
To make your own music?
Yes.
Ah, so before you were just singing for other people and doing your vocals for other people and for
Yeah.
others' visions.
Yes.
Ah, okay. So that's your journey right now with the finding your own thing.
Yes.
Damn. But I mean, since you were doing that for 8 years, that is a long time.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, you also said like you felt it was way too much at some point. I mean, I do get, we were, just for you to know, we were talking about, for your listeners, just before the interview started, I had to stop her because she was spilling the tea. Now, you were talking about that, you feel like you're late, right? Or maybe I misunderstood it, but it felt like you were like, oh, you felt so focused on something, and now it's just you're going a different route, and somehow it's kind of changing your perspective on how to choose your way.
Yeah. Yes, I think that the society makes you feel that you need to choose one thing.
Yeah.
And it's very, very hard to make just one thing in your life, because there are lots of possibilities. And I think that the human being is very how do you say, amplio?
Multifaceted.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I don't know, because you said yourself you had, back to your EP, you had a couple songs where you felt like it's more you, and others where you were like, nah, that's not part of the EP. Do you feel like you can see this, you going out of the, I have to focus on one thing? Do you see that in those songs too, or in your EP in general? And in what way?
Yeah. For example, I was trying to do a bolero.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's very hard to just like to make something in the traditional style. Because because I can't, because I have seen lots of musical genres, and I have been doing music for lots of years, and I always listen music. So I think that my style is just a combination, a mix of all the things that I have seen.
Yeah, I understand. I get that. Do you see an evolution in your personal style, even though you don't know, like you said yourself, you don't know where you're going, but is there still like a line where you're like, okay, this makes Ora in her entity, in her way? Like, how would you define yourself, your personal style?
Yes, I will define my personal style like a mix of music styles.
I think there's something. Oh, sorry.
Continue.
Yeah. No, I think there's something weird with trying to do traditional music, which, not that it's like bad, but it's really hard to make something that everyone knows what it should be compared to making like a new genre. It's like, I don't know, trying to be like, oh, this is a piece of classical music, then people have like really exact expectations of like, oh, this is what classical music sounds like, so you don't know what you're gonna.
Yeah.
So if you do it a little bit wrong, quote unquote wrong, then like it's not then it's bad. Whereas if you're doing something that's like really new, like a lot of what Tame Impala does sounds traditionally terrible, but because it's a new type of sound that he's making, it doesn't sound incorrect. It's just like, oh, this is new. Yeah. Interesting. It's like easier. There's some saying of like easiest thing to draw as a ghost or something, because it's like no one knows what it looks like. Oh. That kind of thing. Yeah. And also with traditional music, like you were saying, time is a really important thing with it, where, for example, I grew up with a lot of Motown. My dad listens to a lot of Motown. And if you think about the idea of like making Motown when it was popular in like forgetting the city. Car place. Anyway, they made cars there. Detroit, I think. It's like a really cool moment of history of like, oh, we're making something that's new and interesting. But if I go and make a Motown song now, it's inherently has like a different idea to it, because it's like I'm trying to replicate this thing that already exists. So I'm not like doing something as authentically. It's like I'm paying tribute to this. Yeah. And it's impossible for me to now make a Motown song with the same like moment of time that they had it. Does that make sense? Like the context changed the meaning.
Context changes. That's like the thing. I feel like, and that's the thing. Still, even though you would do a Motown thing, it will be something else because of context, but something about it will be similar though.
Yeah. Like you can get the same energy, but then the context puts the meaning in a different place, where it's like, oh, now it's like a white English guy working in Berlin making a Motown song, has a completely different meaning to a modern song.
Definitely. But I feel like that's also in general like a difficult thing as a creating person, is to be like, okay, I have this vision of like it should be something. It should be something. It should be something cute, it should be something sensual, it should be something whatever. But the thing being, like the thing that you make in the end feels like something else. I feel every time that I create something, I feel like in the end it's something way different that I thought it was supposed to be. But then again, if I look back at it, I'm like, no, that's totally right. It was supposed to be like that in the first place anyways, you know? But it's like the thing also with the process about making it makes it actually complete.
Yeah, it was really interesting with this EP, working with you and all the instrumentalists that were also like classically trained musicians, which was new for me. Which is really interesting. I learned a lot, but everything that I do, especially if I'm doing like hip hop production, it's like beats and stuff. I usually don't have like a song in my head. I'm trying to make that. It's just like, oh, this thing's cool. What's the next cool thing? And then like it turns into something. So it's like improvising a song, whereas you had like very good idea of what the song wanted to be and where there was room for improvisation. And then I don't know, it was much more like trying to make a thing that you already knew what you wanted to make. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. It does make sense. But like you said, you work with a lot of different classically trained instrumentalists. Like who did you work with? What type of instruments?
They weren't like classical trained, but they studied in a conservatory. They studied jazz.
Yes.
Like
that's what I mean. It's like classical, classical training techniques as opposed to like training on classical music.
Oh,
does that make sense?
Yes.
I don't know. Actually, I would like to know more about that. Because you say
know more than I do.
Yeah, that's like in which way? Like what makes it classically trained?
I thought that was like in the classical classical music that you were talking about, but maybe it's like the classical training in a conservatory and
that's what I was thinking.
Choose an instrument and just study that instrument.
Ah, okay. Yeah. So people who really know their instrument in and out.
Yeah.
But there's a different way of like classically training versus just like, oh, this is learning an instrument. For example, we both studied. Well, hopefully we'll see how the grades come back. But we just finished bachelor's courses, and you were doing songwriting and I was doing production, and like it's a pop music university, so the techniques they use for teaching is very different. I basically didn't see like a written piece of music for the last 3 years of school, which is really weird. There's no idea of like, oh, you need to learn how to play this song. There's no idea of like learning scales and stuff that wasn't in this curriculum, which I think is a big thing missing from it. But when I think of when I say classical training, which I think is standard, I don't know, it's more associated with like how I grew up learning instruments, which is you need to learn these songs, you need to analyze the songs, learn how to read music, and practice and practice and practice to get like skills down before you move forward in doing the next thing. And that usually is in conservatoires, which is like the classical music school. That's typically either jazz or classical, if I'm right. So that's what I would.
And how was working with those classically trained people different than working with other people?
This sounds horrible, and I'm not putting myself in the category of classically trained at all, but they're just so much better. Which I mean, there's people like for example, Masego isn't classically trained. He like taught himself by ear, and he's an incredible saxophonist. But there's a different level of how well they know their instrument, especially at a relatively young age. Like I think the people we're working with were typically like under 35, where they've just spent every hour for the past like 8 years studying, for example, vocals and practicing. And I think a lot of that is usually missing when people learn by ear. There's also a better line of communication with music theory, where you can explain what you want in theoretical terms, and they're like, oh, I've done this for years. I know exactly what you need. I can translate that to expressing it on my instrument. And then there's little things of which I learned along the way of, for example, Jair, who played double bass on the record, and he played guitar on Echo and Mujer, I think. Which came out 2 weeks ago when this comes out, but yet to come out as we talk. where he would tune to where his fingers were playing as opposed to tuning with an open strings, because the like difference in where the string tension is would change the tuning of the note, which makes sense to me.
Yeah.
But I've always been like, oh, it's in tune,
Yeah.
And there's like, I don't know, there's a real nuance to the way that they know their instruments,
Oh.
which I think comes across in your vocals as well.
Yeah, that's
that
what
is
I was asking. Like, what I would ask now is like in terms of vocalists, like working with vocalists, where's there the difference? Like, I mean, there are respectfully, obviously, a lot of people who are just like, yeah, okay, I want to sing now. Let's sing. Let's learn. Let's train. Da 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 da. But how is it different? Being like classically trained in vocals. I don't know. Have you worked with non-classically trained vocalists before?
I have.
You have. Have you too?
Yeah, yes, I have singing with
Yeah.
classical. I think that that depends on the style of the music,
Oh, okay.
but also in my case, in the personality,
Yeah.
because for me it's very important. Like I need to feel prepared to do something,
Yeah.
so that's why I studied classical music and why I studied songwriting, because really I need to feel prepared before doing something. And I think that this the academy makes me feel prepared.
Ah, okay.
So yeah.
And then does your process change when you feel more prepared in general? Like, do you think it makes really a difference in what comes out when you're more prepared?
I feel more secure when I'm
Something
So
something that was interesting. Sorry, did you have something? No. Okay, sorry. Something that's interesting for me working with you for vocals compared to other people is that because you're prepared, and that's not saying like people. When you do a session, people come in, they know the song and everything, so it's like everyone's prepared, but you're prepared in a different sort of way where after you sing, you know what you sang. Like, you know the intricacies of it. So if I'm like, oh, at the end of this one, you're like tailing off a bit on the S, it's weird, then you correct it the next time. And this is a problem for me as well. If I play saxophone on a track, for example, if someone, a large part of it's probably improvised. So if someone tries to like give me feedback, I'm not so good at implementing it in a really specific way.
Oh,
Because they'll be like, oh, can you do like this phrase again? And I'm like, I don't really know what that phrase was. Can you go back and play it? And then I need to like figure it out. And it takes me a second where you don't have that because you're like prepared in a really analytical way.
yeah.
That was at least my perspective on it.
Okay.
But I mean, you also teach. You do vocal teaching too, right?
Yes.
How do you teach vocals? Like in general, I have no idea what like, because again, for me, it's like you sing a couple times, you sing a lot, you have notes, you learn the notes. I don't know, but I mean, there is something you can train about it, right? What is it?
I like teaching vocals. Depending of the style of music that the people wants to learn.
Yeah.
So it's specific, and because I am not gonna teach like scales or or like the way that in the conservatory teach me.
But
I am not gonna reply that because it's so boring.
But like in terms of genre, so that even in terms of genre, there's a difference in how you teach vocals.
Yeah, I think that in classical music or jazz, that these two styles, you need to have a specific technique. Yeah.
And how is it different from others?
Because the classical music in is different from the popular music.
Definitely.
In lots of stuffs, but for example, we can talk about the resonances.
Mm-hmm.
In classical music, you don't use microphone, so you need to use your body. To sing with an orchestra, for example.
Okay.
So the technique and the sounds are very different from singing like pop song with a microphone.
So
At different stuffs and have
yeah.
like different details. Yeah.
So for example, if I would come to you and be like, "Hey, I want to be a pop singer," what would you focus on then? Because I feel like in classical that would mean that you would have like a lot of posture and how to use your body, but what would it be with microphones? Like, what do you train there?
I Yes, in general, the people that I'm teaching music is with pop music. So I start like with a song that they like,
Yeah.
and for me the most important is like like that they can find their voices, not like singing as someone, just singing like with their voices. And uh, it's very important to like develop their ear, their
Yeah.
training,
Yeah,
ear training. So I start with that, like listening. Yeah, how is your voice, and what is easier for you? Like you need to do this sound, but you need to you need to feel easy always. And that's the way that I teach popular music. And then with during the class, during the lesson, that depends on the person. We Yes, I can do like breathe exercise or resonant exercise using kind of the classical training. But yeah.
I mean, for you, since you come from a classical background, but you're now going more into pop, right?
Yeah.
So how do you find your voice? Or
Mm,
did you find your voice?
yeah, it's I I try to don't do anything that I did in classical training.
Oh, you just do the opposite
Yes,
of what
the
you learned.
opposite. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's like you really like, no, if it's sounding too classical, I'm not doing it.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
No, there is
Even
like
I'm very careful to doesn't sound like with classical technique in
Oh,
while I'm singing, because it's
but
it's
why?
weird.
It's weird, but why?
Because the classical music, it's a specific like sound,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to have that sound in my music.
what do
I
you think?
wanted to more like more normal.
What do you think the difference is between that classical sound and the sound that you did on this EP?
Uh, I think that the classical sound is more diva and big and spotlight,
Yeah.
and
Makes sense.
I wanted to do something more. Yeah, it's just music.
But like it's now in the yes German in the production way is there also something like in production that is different, like in the quality of voice or quality of sound, if you had like a classical versus a pop version, like as a vocals?
As a vocalist, or like
Yeah.
the style?
As a style, I would say a style, I think.
Yeah. So a large part of everything on this project was live recorded, meaning I had microphones. There was no samples or anything. It was all like set up in a room. We recorded someone playing something.
Yeah.
Which also counts as live recording, but electric guitar, which is plugged in. It wasn't
Yeah.
like there was nothing that was made by someone else that we used on it.
Yeah.
And along with learning how to use microphones and everything, there's this whole thing of different microphones sound different with different voices. So you have to kind of try out different voices. You have a pretty like spread out frequency range, meaning you have like lots of high end stuff, which is usually like S's and T's and breath in that kind of thing and less like chest resonance.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're working with classical music, a lot of it is the resonance thing again. So you'd maybe use something that emphasizes that more or takes it away to get a more balanced vocal take. There's also, we didn't use any autotune on this, but if you were to use it for classical music, it would have to be very different settings to be like, to get the classical sound.
Yeah.
Basically. So there's kind of like at each step, there's a little bit of like, I want to emphasize this thing so it sounds like a classical
Yeah.
vocal as opposed to popular music, which is basically whatever you want, which is way more fun to work on for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like when you were working with a lot of people, with other people who are like specialists in their field, how was it for you to tell them what to do? Like, how did you tell them that's what I want?
I think that it was very natural the way that we communicate because I knew what I wanted.
Yeah.
So, and they are really, really good musicians, and they are my friends. So,
Okay.
yeah, they know the way how I talk, and
Oh, that's
yeah,
nice. How is it working
was
with your
very-
friends?
Yeah, it was very, very, very beautiful. I'm very grateful. Yeah, I'm very proud of them because they are wonderful, wonderful musicians. I'm
They
very
were-
happy.
Very cool studio sessions.
Yes.
There was for the saxophone
Very
solo,
fun. Yeah, very,
Yeah.
very fun.
where the saxophone solo on Planta, which was the lead single, had Rafa playing saxophone and improvising, and it was just a really like. I was laughing during the session while he was playing, not because it was like he wasn't playing badly. It's just he's a very like funny person, and so much of the like, oh, I'm like having fun, and this is just
Yes.
cool, and I like playing with stuff was coming out. That it was like
Oh.
a lot of the emotion came through the way he was playing,
Yeah.
and it was very much like a we want some like saxophone stuff on this. You want to go in the other room, and he kind of just did his thing, and it was like so much of him in it, which was really cool.
But he's a professional improviser, so
That's his
Oh.
thing.
like that makes
Yeah.
everything's super easy. Like it
Mhm.
was very easy because everyone was so good in
But
their
like when
instruments.
you know what you want and you have like a professional improviser, like how do you tell them what to do?
I was
Like what
just-
do you tell them?
I was with for example Planta like this is the chords and my voice and I want
And he
I
went,
want
"This isn't the chords. What the fuck are you doing?" And then we did like 20 minutes
Yes,
of
that
we don't know what
happened.
this song is.
Yes, because I make the song, but I'm not a good guitarist. I'm not
Yeah.
a guitarist player, so I just and I make my songs with guitar. So it's weird because it's just like, oh, this sounds good. So yeah,
And
that's the way.
then
So
it was like transposed or something weird, but we sorted it out, and then you
yeah.
sorry.
But yeah. So I told him like, yeah, this is that like the line, the vocal line, and I would like you to make something weird in his style, but also replying a little bit my the voice, and that was
That
was
was it.
very very easy. Yeah,
First take was like, yeah, that's it.
yeah,
Yeah, we literally just did 4
Actually-
takes.
Yeah, we
There's
did.
How
just-
many?
4.
just
Four.
four, but
Jeez.
for
And-
fun, just to
Yeah, and I think we only used 2. So it's pretty normal. For the vocals, we probably did maybe 10 takes or something.
Yeah.
And then you like take little bits of it. And for the saxophone, there's one part where all the instrumentation drops out and has like a little...
Yeah.
And that was just so much cooler on a different take, so we put that in. But basically, it's one thing. One just like, he did
But-
it, and then we were happy.
Did you give him feedback? Like were you like, okay, no, can you do this? Can you do that type of thing?
I don't really remember. There might have been parts where he got too crazy. And we were like, Rabbit, chill.
yes,
Bro.
sometimes
That's
sometimes,
enough.
Yeah.
yeah. I think that in Echo that the song is more chill. It was like
Okay.
more
Yeah.
chill.
Don't get too excited.
Cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you have so much material, wouldn't you want to use it still, like in any way?
This was like Planta was mixed and mastered, which is basically just days of work, and I had to go
Yeah.
to different
Yeah.
locations and do stuff, which is part of the job, which is cool. But then we had finished it, and it was like uploaded to release and everything, and then we were watching a video of the session that I'd
Yeah.
taken for social media, and somebody was like, "I like this solo more." we want to like we should do
Oh,
this with the solo, and I was like, no.
I mean, you can still do
Um,
samples, right?
Yeah, but yeah, there's cool stuff. There's cool samples in there. There's cool things where we could do a different version with a different
Yeah.
solo. For something that hasn't turned into anything yet, I took some of Jaira's bass lines and resampled it, and
Ooh.
yeah, it's cool. It was really cool to work with these people.
That's so
I learned a
nice.
lot.
You learned a lot.
Yeah.
Damn.
I've been
Yeah, me
doing. I
too.
haven't been doing music that long. It's been
Yeah,
3
yeah.
years of doing it seriously before I had like saxophone classes or whatever. But I learned a lot working with people who had been seriously being musicians for 8 years plus. It's really interesting for me.
Hmm. Like for you, like now comparing your studies in music in Colombia versus in Berlin,
Mhm.
or like Germany, sorry, you want to say is stay in the same scale. Colombia versus Germany, like how is it different for you?
Yeah. Well, in Colombia, it was was classical training. So the classical training is very disciplined and hard. It's very very hard. So yeah, and in Berlin it's more popular study. So it's just two different genres. So it's very different.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in that way it's very different. Um, yes, I mm, yeah I don't know if it yeah I just studied in one university here in Germany, so
Yeah, definitely.
I can't talk about the others, but I think that in Colombia the education is very very hard, like the assessments, and feel more we have more as uh, yeah feeling of competition,
Mm.
because yeah I think that my society in Colombia, um, they taught us that we just have one opportunity. We just
Oh.
have one opportunity. So, and they make us feel that we have less opportunity. So it's very hard education. But in Germany, yeah, I think that yeah the economical and
With the mic.
social uh, stuffs in Germany are better. The conditions
Okay.
are better. So make feel the people more relaxed while they are studying.
For me, I think like I didn't do classical training in the way that you did, but I did have lots of classes in the schools that I was in. I spent a lot of time doing music, and it was classical setup. Where for me, the major difference between classical and popular music studies is that classical sucks all of the life out of it so that you can become a good musician. And at least my experience with popular music studies was that it puts so much life into it that it forgets that you should try to be good.
Mm.
And it's like there should be some kind of balance of you need
Yeah,
to learn
actually,
technique.
the
you
way that
know?
you said it, I was like,
Like I studied violin growing up, and it is fucking horrible to do because it's like, oh, I need to learn to do scales, and I need to learn these 3 songs so that I can get my qualification. And I had a very, very good teacher as well called Andrew, who I did English folk music, which is a big thing for a big scene for, which is more focused on having fun. But that wasn't classical, so it's like the classical training is technique, learning scales, learning songs, moving on, and like there's no fun in it. Versus where we were studying at BIM, there was like it was for me it was almost too much like, oh, you can just do what you want and have fun with it, and not enough of like
ambition to be
things you
good.
can really use to propel the quality of your music forward.
Yeah.
Mm.
No, that's fair. Okay, back to EP though. What is your favorite song on that EP?
I I I I don't know.
Mine's Planta.
Planta's
Yes, it's
already
Planta.
out. I mean, the EP.
All of it's already out by the
Oh, by
time
the
this
time that
comes
we
out.
hear, everything is out. Okay, well then.
But Planta is out as we talk now.
Yes. Yeah, Planta was the first song that I wrote. Yeah, and it was my favorite for a time. But then I think that Mujer is very beautiful. I really like the vocal line and the lyrics as well. but Echo, it's I like it a lot because it's more chill, it's more relaxed, it's more easy to listen, I guess.
It's more commercial in like not a negative way. It's just more, yeah, commercial.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, I like the three of them.
For,
All three. All
Yes.
three.
I think they all have really 3 different strong things, which is cool to like bundle them into an EP. Where Mujer, I think the lyrics are really strong, which doesn't really
What
affect.
is it about?
Yeah. It's about I- it's about yes, I came from a culture very machista, so um it's like the lyrics are about like you 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 just need to trust on you and 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 let it go and keep going. Trust on you and keep going.
Nice.
Yeah. So that one, the lyrics I think are the strongest, and you said you're probably most proud of their songwriting on that. Which
Yeah.
for me, it's about womanhood so as much, and it's in Spanish, so I don't have like an emotional reaction from it as much as I do with English lyrics. Rio, well,
But I mean, do you know Spanish?
yeah, but I don't get like as strong of an emotional reaction from songs in Spanish as I do in English.
Yeah.
Do you,
Like,
not,
is
do you not have this with German and English, or with French?
Yeah, that's like the thing because I feel like with French, I still feel that a lot. I had a couple tracks like recently actually, even though I haven't been speaking French in a while, I still had a couple tracks where I was like, damn, I feel that differently, especially because it was a French. Because I know how it in the French. Maybe it's a cultural thing because I was like, ooh, I feel that because I know what it means in that culture, you know, or in my other part. In my other cultural context. So I was like, ooh, I still feel that hard, but I mean, with Spanish, I don't know. But I mean,
there's some
do
stuff
you
with
have
Spanish.
that? Do you have that with English and Spanish?
Oh, yes, in general, I don't understand the lyrics in English.
You don't, not at all. Like,
No.
do you even pay? Sorry, not in a judgmental way, but do you pay attention to the English still, meaning wise?
Yes, I need to be very like.
Okay, yeah.
So there's lots of cultural like idiosyncrasies for lyrics that. So for me, for German, it took a very long time until I understood, especially German rap. Because there's like lots
Yeah,
of
I
slang and
understand,
it's
yeah.
like pretty fast. They don't
Fair.
speak clearly. That kind of thing. Similar with Spanish, I feel like the language is pretty structured around vowels, which means you can play a lot with it in melody, but then it's very difficult as a foreigner. And like my Spanish is relatively fluent, but it's not that good. A lot of the time with lyrics, I lose
Interesting.
words because it's like the shape of the word is so stretched around a melody. That makes sense?
Yeah, no, that makes
Yeah.
sense. That makes total sense. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit different. Like, I don't know how much you grew up with Spanish music, though, because I did still.
I did, but I didn't speak Spanish at the time.
Yeah, that's like the thing, because I grew up bilingual, and I
Mhm.
grew up with the
Right.
French
Yeah.
music, so it's also a little bit different,
Yeah.
because even the structures in how they place words still has a semantic, like an emotional meaning to me,
Yeah.
just also with nostalgia and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then it's cool that you don't even, like, in English, but that makes total sense.
I've tried showing her songs where I'm like, this is a really beautiful song. It was a song called Hey Sandra by a guy called like Middleweight or something.
And she was like, meh.
Well, it's like, I thought, like, I was listening to it while running and I was like, this is such a beautiful song. And then took it back home and played it. And then I realized, like, oh, there's just so much. It's like, it's a country song. And I don't listen to a lot of country, but it's really, really beautiful. And there's like a lot of slang and stuff in it. And it's like a deep southern accent. And it's like, this is just not accessible to an audience that's not native English. And probably maybe not spent time in like southern states US as well. Probably British people that listen and be like, I don't know what the fuck this is. But yeah, for the 3 songs, so that's one credit where the songwriting's really good. And the reason it's not one of my favorites is because of that, where I don't connect to it as much. And then Planta, the production is really amazing, and that's not to toot my own horn, but
No,
it's like the instrumentalists, including you, made it so easy for me. I didn't do that much with it, but it was the first thing that I produced where I was like, oh, this is like, this sounds so good. I'm so proud of this.
Really cool.
And then echo sounds really good as well, but I think there's something with the space that worked really well in Planta. And there's some experimental production stuff with Planta where I recorded bass in stereo, which is like something you don't do, but it turned out really nice. I'm pretty happy with it.
Nice. Why
So that's what
don't
we
you
did.
do it?
Generally, as a rule, you don't do it. There's some songs that do have like stereo bass stuff, or they have bass panned, but generally when you listen to music, the kick drum and the bass are like in the middle.
Ah.
And if you, because bass, the waves for bass, the sound waves are like longer.
Yeah.
When you do stuff in stereo, there typically tends to be like a thing where the waves like are a little bit out of phase. So it
so
makes it destroys the like
Yeah.
oomph of it, and it kind of takes out some of the bass sound. But what I did with this was record Jair's double bass in stereo with 2 microphones, one focusing more on like the finger sounds and stuff, which is higher frequencies, and then one of the lower frequencies, and then just played with the mixing a little bit to make it like wide, but not to destroy the middle
Damn.
of the bass, which I didn't think was going to work. I thought I was just going to get rid of one of the microphones and have it done in one, but it was cool, and I like that. So when I listened to Planta, I'm like, oh, that's really cool that I did that. It's not something that I made up. Other people have done it, but yeah.
But I mean, you don't have a favorite song,
No, not really.
but do you have a favorite process? Like, which one did you enjoy making the most?
I think that echo.
Echo.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah.
We had a session with Jaco It's Different, who has been on the podcast, and he was also producer for the live session we recently did. And I mean, everyone on it's very talented. Jay, it was really cool to like just watch him do his thing with the electric guitars, and then adding percussion and like, I don't know. I saw maybe it's because it was later
Yeah.
and you were more comfortable in studio sessions, but I saw you really enjoying the sessions more.
Yes, it was. It was easier.
Easier. Why?
Yeah. Because yes, I was because with Planta and with Mujer, I learned to just let the musicians just trust on them. So yeah, with Echo was like okay.
Echo was the last one that you recorded.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Ah,
So
okay.
it was like, okay, Jair, I want this. I would like to do this melody and that, but you can do
Oh, cool.
wherever around this melody, and yeah, it was just
So-
trust.
What would you tell yourself recording Planta then?
Maybe just trust in Sebastian and Jair, and relax.
Relax.
Enjoy.
So during the EP in general, like what was for you the biggest challenge in making it?
Finding the space to record.
The space to record.
So we didn't
Yeah.
have this studio.
Oh.
We got the studio in March, and then it took about a month of building to make
Yeah.
it what it is.
So beautiful, by the way.
Thank you,
Really,
thank you.
really.
I'm so surprised that nothing went really wrong. Yeah. So sorry. Yeah, technical issues. That's why the audio was bad. And we'll continue. Which is my bad. Sorry. No.
No, I was just kidding.
Yeah. So we didn't have this space when we started recording. We started recording January 1st this year. And we got this space in March, and then it was like a month of building it and stuff. So, yeah, it was really hard to find the space. We could use the uni facilities for some, but when we started recording, it was 1st of January. So we built a little fort out of a duvet in our living room
Yeah.
and
damn.
recorded Jay on double bass for those, and some guitar that I think we didn't end up using because it was a guitar from Mujer that we re-recorded like 4 or 5 times. Yeah. So that was a challenge.
Yeah, that was the challenge. But
And-
also, like, Jair lives in Hamburg, so it
Oh.
was.
So he
Like,
came out
yeah,
all the way with the double bass, which he's too
that
too
was
kind.
hard.
Yeah.
That was difficult as well.
Yeah. Also, hardest part is right now where we're trying to get it heard.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to email radio stations. We're trying to get it copyrighted, which by the time this comes out, it will be copyrighted. But we've waited like over a month to get all of the paperwork for GEMA, which is the Songwriters' Rights Association, through. It's a whole thing, but really, I think promotion is probably the hardest part of doing any of this, at least
Yeah.
for me, because the rest of it doesn't really feel like work
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
same. Yeah, the same.
So doing social media stuff,
Social media.
just
Or
horrible.
do you have any plans for that?
We had a live session planned for 2 days ago,
Oh.
but it fell through because we couldn't find the musicians and stuff. And
yeah.
but that will hopefully be done in August as well, because Yannick, who does the videography for the podcast and does a lot of the
Mhm.
editing, is gone away for a little bit, but he's going to come back with his camera and his skills and his willingness to work for free. no,
Yeah,
no, but
that's a challenge as well.
yeah,
like,
paying people
everything. Yes,
is really,
everything
really
has been-
difficult. Everything's been free, which is incredible of the people to do
Yeah.
it, but we want to go back and pay people
Yeah.
when money's coming in, which wasn't part of the promise. We weren't like, oh, we'll pay you later. We really all did it for free. We were planning to pay some people, and they said, it's okay, you don't have to, which
Yeah.
is so kind. But now we're trying to make money from it so that we can go back and pay them, and hopefully fund the next project, which is really hard because no one wants to pay for music these days. But
That's like a thing though, right? Like, but why? Is it just a German thing?
then no one wants to pay for music.
Yeah.
It's a Spotify thing mostly, and that's not like Spotify's a demon. They save people are getting lots and lots of money from Spotify, which is better than what would have happened if Spotify didn't exist, which
Yeah.
was piracy. But it does mean that everyone who
Yeah.
which is
Fair.
like,
That's
yeah,
facts. Facts.
it's just-
Facts. That's true.
So the Spotify does have an important role, but the other two kind of sides of it is now people listen to upwards of 60 hours of music a month on average, like more than 2 hours a day, and they think that paying 30 cents a day is like how much that's worth because they're only paying 10 euros a month.
Yeah.
So people are really like, oh, and also they don't see it leave their bank account. They're not like doing a transaction. It's like, oh, this is automatically taken out. It's paid
Yeah.
for Spotify. So you don't think about, I'm paying for the music I'm listening to.
Yeah.
So there's like a perception that paying for listening to music should be free, which is terrible for music as a culture. And I mean, yeah, we all complain about it as artists, but really, that's our problem. We still get to be artists, which is really cool, but it's really bad for music as a culture. And I think we'll see how it goes with AI.
Oh.
But also the other side of Spotify is that they have like this whole spiel of, oh, we're here for the independent artists, like we're doing this thing.
Yeah.
Daniel Ek, who's the CEO, posted on Twitter this week that now that the cost of making music is effectively zero, which is not true, blah, 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 which is, he's just incredibly disconnected from music. And it's terrible that the person, someone who's in control of basically a
Yeah.
monopoly share of the music consumption market has no idea how music works.
But like, has he any background in music?
No, he's a software developer.
Okay.
Obviously he's had to like learn about music for doing Spotify, but
Yeah.
every year they release a report which is saying like, this is how much money we've accumulated for artists this year, and they recently announced a price increase and a pay decrease to artists in the same announcement recently, which was disguised as like, now you'll be able to get audiobooks and we're only going up €1, and it's like, yeah, because you know if you do that you can pay less taxes for the content on your platform, which goes to GEMA, which is the songwriting rights organization. And the other end of that is we as artists see less money, and probably authors are going to get fucked by it as well. I don't know, but I would imagine it's not great. Also they have discovery mode, which is a way that you can say, show my music to more people and I'll take less of a cut, which was branded as like, now if you're independent and you're not getting so much money anyway, we can show your music to more people. But it actually puts every artist on the platform through a bit of a prisoner's dilemma, where it's like, if everyone does it, then Spotify just gets a bigger cut and the rest of us don't actually get any more seen. But also big labels who are shareholders in Spotify and will get paid by Spotify getting paid more, will put all of their artists on discovery mode.
Yeah.
So it's like a prisoner's dilemma, except one of the prisoners can get out, and that's the labels. So it's kind of left independent artists as like we just get shown to less people, or we take the label side and get paid less money, and probably not shown to many more people.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe people should just start pirating music again, and that's fine, and use the money to buy merch and pay for shows.
Mm.
I think that's probably better for music as a culture.
Damn.
Or switch to Apple Music or Tidal, both of which pay artists better and are cheaper currently if you're in the US.
Okay.
Sorry, that's my little Spotify rant.
Like you know so much random stuff. No, it's not random. It's actually important to know. But yeah. So for you, what is your plan, or what are your plans?
How are we
in
gonna make
general?
money? Do you want to take this? Or do you want me to
Mm,
have another little rant?
yeah.
Let's go. Rant number 2.
So radio is basically it's partially promotion of trying to get as much attention on your art as possible so that people can then become fans and get a longer connection with you, and hopefully you can provide more value to them. So one way of doing that is social media, which every artist hates doing. This isn't to be like, you hate doing this, but you do hate doing it. I hate doing it too. So and the music is not like what 15-year-olds are listening to typically. It's like, for me, I perceive it as more like 25 to 35-year-old music, maybe a little bit older. So we're doing a big focus on radio stations, which a lot of people don't know actually do pay you for play through the same songwriters' rights organization and performance.
Wait. So if you send your music to radio, they pay you.
So if you send your music to radio, some of them will say, we're not going to play this unless you pay us, which is
Yeah.
payola is illegal in some countries. It's illegal in the US and in Germany.
It's illegal in Germany.
I think so. I know it is in the US because they did this whole thing of payola regulations where this used to be the thing of like when music only got made when it was on labels, so it was like fine. They have like an ongoing agreement, and then now there's independent artists, and this whole thing of like basically paying to play went through court in the US and is now illegal. So that's where the term payola comes from.
Damn.
But so radio stations, you can send the music.
Yeah.
And it's unlikely if you don't have like an ongoing relationship with the radio host. But if they play your music and they are any kind of radio station, they pay a tax to the government, which then goes to the songwriting rights organization, which is then paid to us. So as a chunk of that, it's paid to us. So they register every song they play, and that goes through the governments to us, which for terrestrial radio, like uni radio, is about €5 or less, but that's still something. For satellite radio, if you're on like, I think BBC works like this, I'm not 100% sure, but some of the bigger ones like Univision and can't think of any. But it can go up to like €80 for one time your song being played. Damn. So when you're hearing like Taylor Swift on the radio, she probably just got €80 for that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn. But why, like, respectfully, but why is radio music still so shitty? Like, don't people use that? Like, don't people send their music in anymore?
It depends what too. So most radio, at least what I hear in Germany does have good radio stations as well, but I don't listen to radio. So when I hear it, it's like in offices and stuff.
Then I'm probably listening to the wrong ones because I only mainstream
so it's
stuff. I'm
exactly, it's just mainstream stuff, which most people are fine with having on in the background. So it works,
true,
and that's
fair.
like they're paying their radio tax. They listen to more of it, so it makes sense that those radios pay more.
Okay.
But there are good radio stations. I've actually discovered a bunch from doing this research of trying to find some that are really cool. We have had a radio host on, I think, last week. We don't know how these episodes are going to come out, but called Toshin, who does a show called Tea with Toshin, which is really good. That's on RTE, which is the Irish public radio, I think. It's the big radio station in Ireland.
Nice.
They're around, but the reason it's mostly mainstream music is because it's music that people want to have on in the background. And most people, similar to Netflix, like most Netflix stuff is terrible.
Yeah.
Because that's what gets most watched because it's in the background. So
Weird. Yeah.
So this is partially how we're trying to make money is hopefully a couple radio plays, and then hopefully people hear that, and then people who listen to cool radio stations that play underground music are typically like tastemakers within their social groups. It's like they're the people that put on the music because they're like people who are obsessed with music.
Damn.
So hopefully that finds some people. That might be like a horrible industry term for. Tastemakers, like radio station hosts are tastemakers, people who make playlists are tastemakers.
Oh.
Some people would call gatekeepers as well, depending on like if it's holding people out or bringing people in.
That's where, okay.
That's where gatekeeping comes from.
Yeah,
it's like, let's gatekeep this musician because they're cool, which by the way, don't do that, that's fucked.
I swear,
show
no
them to
gatekeeping
people.
here. No, but like gatekeeping and tastemakers being so related, I never thought of it, but it makes so much sense.
Yeah. So that's the connection there.
Interesting.
So radio is a big focus right now. Trying to do
Yeah.
interviews. Here we are.
Like independent radios, university radios.
Which some are
radio
really
stations.
cool. In the US and the UK especially, some of the websites are really cool and the shows are
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah.
So doing all of that, trying to reach out to magazines, just get it seen basically.
Yeah.
And then the hope is to then be able to monetize it through playing shows, which takes money in the first place because you have to rent the venue. Selling merch hopefully, which you definitely are not a fan of the idea of selling stuff, but
Yeah.
but that's also because you don't buy from artists so
Yes.
much, and I'm someone who does. This isn't actually nothing right now, but
Which is
usually half of
surprising.
these,
Usually he
yeah,
does.
half of these episodes I'm wearing stuff. merch.
Half of your closet.
Yeah, and I buy vinyl and stuff, and I collect all these
Yeah.
things, which maybe I'm just caught in the rat race, but I feel like it's like cool to have like this thing of an artist,
Yeah.
which
No, I have lots of friends who go to live concerts and they're like, okay,
Yeah.
this I want to bring home.
yeah,
I almost did it. I did not do it because I didn't have enough cash that that time. But there was this one. It was Tamara, I think. She
Mhm.
was actually pre-act only. She was only pre-act of Masego,
right,
but her merch was so amazing. I was like,
Oh.
yeah. So we
And-
really want to make sure we get
yeah,
really nice merch done, and not just
Yeah.
like, hey, please support me type of merch, but also like this is a nice thing to buy, even if it wasn't
Yeah.
associated with you.
definitely.
But that's another thing that like you got to pay for it for the money to
Yeah.
come back, which is yeah. So we
Totally.
gotta spend time doing the radios to hopefully get listeners, so that we can then pay for merch, so that we can then sell merch, and then hopefully pay the musicians,
Yeah.
and then pay the musicians for the following project. It's a big uphill battle, but this is I mean, we're a podcast for independent artists. We shit on labels a lot, but this is what labels provide to the music culture as a whole, is the capital to be able to hire musicians and pay them properly to make good music.
Yeah.
So there is a really positive thing that they provide, which is exactly what we're struggling with now
Yeah.
as independent artists. But that's the game.
That's the game.
Yeah.
Damn. But I mean that now, musically wise, going forward, what are your plans?
Yes, I would like to make music now. I don't know if another EP or an album, but more. I would like to make like salsa music, and maybe boleros. I don't know if I want to. Yes, I want to still have this freedom to make music, not in traditional structures. I want to keep this, but also try to make something more commercial.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
nice. So that's like where you want to keep finding your sound.
Yes,
Keep
and
exploring. That's so nice. So what would you do differently when you're approaching now to new projects?
yeah, putting a lot of effort in the how to make my writing more understandable. I think
Okay.
that's my
Like less abstract.
yes,
Right.
less abstract.
But isn't there a certain beauty in being abstract and being vague?
Yes, I guess, but also I would like, that it's yes, I want that the like people understand what I'm doing and not just me.
Ah,
so-
okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Really, I don't know. I'm going to try to be more understandable in whatever it means for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, see what happens.
So you feel like like for example, the EP now, it wasn't that understandable.
I think that not really.
I think Planta
I
is.
tried.
And I thought it was metaphorical, and I asked you what it was about, because I thought it was like about a thirsty plant asking for water because it was like dying, and I was like, "What is it really about?" And you were like, "It's about a plant." I was like, "Oh, actually, it is understandable. I
Yes.
just
Oh, yeah.
it isn't deeper than I thought it was."
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a plant that is asking for water.
Right.
For me, arrangement, I mean, we've talked about this, and I think maybe you disagree with me, but I would like to have more concrete arrangements before recording, meaning knowing more accurately how the instruments are going to interact with one another
Mm.
from a rhythm perspective, but also from like a space perspective. So from production and mixing and stuff, you kind of, if you have two guitars, for example, if you're listening to them play, you just hear two guitars because they're in different places.
Hmm.
So you're translating that to headphones.
Yeah.
You want to try to make sure they're panned. But if you want to play with more stuff and you have like Earth, Wind, and Fire, for example, is a really good example where there's just like so much stuff, so many instruments and stuff going on.
You mean the you mean the band?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Um,
No.
that the arrangements have to be good to know that like, okay, when this is, if you have more than just two guitars and there's something else that's in a similar frequency range, that they're going to be like moving around each other. So
Yeah.
one's lower down, one's higher up, so that they can be like, so you can fit lots of things in, which from the reference tracks we've been looking at, like Ele stuff, there's lots of things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then the arrangements are really good at making space for all of the other instruments when they need to be there. Which is something I hadn't thought about before doing this EP, but I would like to work on.
That's so cool.
Yes.
So
I
there's a
hope
lot
I
of.
explained that well.
I think so. I think so.
Maybe I would like to also work with a professional arrangement
Arranger.
arranger.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well.
Cool.
I think we're good, right?
Yeah.
How you feeling?
Good.
Yeah. How you
Good,
feeling,
good,
Sebastian?
Yeah, good. This being this
Thank
side so much
you.
easier. You don't have to think about what you're going to say while
Yeah.
you're listening to the person talk.
Yeah. No, I mean, for me, I have to say, it was actually pretty comfortable too.
Nice.
But we got to do an outro. So,
Yeah.
anything that you want to promote here
Do you want to do the promotion?
or
You
thank?
You should do the
or
promotion.
both.
Or I can do it in English, you do it in Spanish, and then we can
Okay,
post
okay.
Ooh.
it. Planta lead single is out as we talk. The full EP is out right now. It's really beautiful. Really proud to have worked on
What
it.
is the name of the EP?
MujerPlantaEco, which is woman, plant, echo. Plant, as we talked about a plant. Mujer is about womanhood, and echo is about home calling you from, as in,
Ooh.
from a sort of emotional standpoint. Really beautiful. You should look at the lyrics and look at the translations. You can follow Aura, Aura Sofia Musica, I think. Everything will be in the description. Thank you very much for listening. And now, Spanish.
Ah,
And maybe you can say a sentence or two about what it means to you.
este EP es el resultado de ya de muchas ganas de escribir música durante muchos años. Así que sería muy lindo que lo escuchen. Cada canción es muy, no sé, íntima y habla un poco sobre este momento de mi vida. Mujer es una canción que habla sobre, sí, como sobre ser fuerte. No, ay, no sé, es muy difícil, lo siento.
That was
Oh.
good. We also don't need it. We can just, yeah.
Sí.